Tháng 7 năm 2013, Đại học Quốc tế, Đại học Quốc gia Thành phố Hồ Chí Minh hợp tác cùng Đại học Northeastern của Hoa Kỳ chính thức triển khai chương trình liên kết đào tạo thạc sĩ khoa học lãnh đạo, khai giảng vào khóa học mùa thu 2013. Chương trình giảng dạy tại Việt Nam sẽ giúp học viên tiết kiệm chi phí học tập, đồng thời lấy bằng thạc sĩ của một trường đại học hàng đầu của Mỹ. Thời gian học linh hoạt, phù hợp cho người đang đi làm. Thông qua mô hình đào tạo tiên tiến kết hợp giữa hình thức học tập truyền thống và học trực tuyến, học viên có điều kiện cọ xát thực tế, chia sẻ, trao đổi kinh nghiệm về kỹ năng lãnh đạo với các giáo sư người Mỹ, nguyên là các CEO, quản lý hoặc chuyên gia cao cấp trong nhiều lĩnh vực. Thành lập năm 1898, Northeastern University là trường đại học lâu đời và danh tiếng ở Hoa Kỳ, nằm ở trung tâm thành phố Boston, bang Massachusetts. Northeastern University trở thành nơi lý tưởng cho các hoạt động nghiên cứu học thuật, là cái nôi đào tạo những cấp quản lý và lãnh đạo có uy tín ở Hoa Kỳ và của thế giới. Trên vai trò đối tác giáo dục của Northeastern University tại Việt Nam, đồng thời là trường công lập định hướng nghiên cứu đa ngành đầu tiên và duy nhất hiện nay ở Việt Nam giảng dạy hoàn toàn bằng tiếng Anh, trường Đại học Quốc tế, Đại học Quốc gia Thành phố Hồ Chí Minh cũng đáp ứng đầy đủ các điều kiện để cung cấp cho học viên một chương trình đào tạo chất lượng đẳng cấp thế giới. Trong chương trình Tôi và Việt Nam hôm nay, tiến sĩ John Labrie, Phó Hiệu trưởng Đào tạo sau đại học của Đại học Northeastern, sẽ chia sẻ những cảm nhận của ông về chương trình hợp tác đào tạo và những dự định phát triển trong tương lai tại Việt Nam. Chào mừng quý vị đến với chương trình Tôi về Việt Nam trên kênh truyền hình FBNC, và vị khách mời của chúng ta ngày hôm nay là ông John Labrie, là Phó Hiệu trưởng Đào tạo sau đại học của Đại học Northeastern, tiểu bang Massachusetts, Hoa Kỳ. Thank you, Mr. Labrie.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
How was the trip in Vietnam so far?
Vietnam is always a wonderful place to come, and Saigon and Ho Chi Minh City is a fascinating place to be. And I had a personal connection through my brother with Vietnam. He had been here during the conflict with the United States. He's 20 years older than I am, so he had been here during the war, but came back very fond of Vietnam and fond of the Vietnamese people.
Right.
So we decided to adopt our son, who's now 16 and very much a teenager and learning how to drive and struggling with school and dealing with his parents. So
interesting. You got some connection with Vietnam.
Yes, we're very fond of Vietnam. Very much like to come visit here. And 3 years ago, when we made the decision to start looking into developing a program in Vietnam, I was very excited and was happy to be able to come here and start working on these degree programs.
That's what I thought, because you have the Vietnam factors in your mind already.
Yes,
So when you decided to open or expand your professional education from your program, from your school, right?
Yeah. Well, from the Northeastern University perspective, Vietnam is a very interesting country for us. It's a young country. It's a growing country. Your economy has been growing. And the view of education is held very, very dear to the people of Vietnam. People here care about education. They care about their careers. And that was a very good match for Northeastern University as we started looking at countries that we wanted to explore new relationships with. We also have a very good group of Vietnamese students at Northeastern in Boston.
Okay.
And we were always very impressed with the quality of their work at the academic level. And so it was a natural for us to be thinking of Vietnam in particular. And so 3 years ago, we sent a delegation to Saigon and to Hanoi to look at developing relationships with partner institutions. And this fall, I'm very proud to say that we'll be launching our first graduate degree in collaboration with International University here in Ho Chi Minh City. So we're very excited about all that.
So why International University?
Well, International University is an interesting place for us.
Okay.
It is primarily a school that was developed to teach in English and to also have interactions with international universities. And so we have a natural affinity to them. They also have recruited a very stellar faculty. We're very impressed with their faculty and their dedication to their educational mission. The quality of the education for us is key in identifying a partner. Obviously, Ho Chi Minh City is the largest city in Vietnam, and International University knows the city well. We always find it very helpful to have an academic partner with us within cultures and countries that we don't understand well to start with. Yeah.
Throughout the whole process of finding and choosing how to partner with a local university like International University in Vietnam, I mean, throughout that whole process, what seemed to be the biggest challenge for an American college like you?
Sure. Typically, the biggest challenge when we're entering a new market and identifying an academic partner is really to find the right people within that academic community to partner with. You want to find partners that you can trust and people that you can work with, people who are creative enough to think about different ways of crafting a relationship and crafting an agreement so that we can bring the best quality education to the students as possible. Like I said earlier, International University really was an institution that we had a great affinity for. We also met a number of very good institutions here in Vietnam, both here in Ho Chi Minh City as well as in Hanoi. But for our particular program and what we were looking for as far as our graduate degree programs, we felt that International University was the ideal partner for us.
But in the future, are you looking more for more opportunities in cooperation with other partners as well? I mean,
absolutely. As we get to know Vietnam better as an institution, I could see the possibilities of expanding our relationships with other institutions here in Vietnam. Northeastern, for example, has a very strong healthcare and a very strong engineering program. There are many fine institutions of engineering and science and technology here in Vietnam that we could see ourselves partnering with. But like every other relationship, it's taking things one step at a time in developing a real solid foundation so Northeastern and Vietnam can build those programs together.
So for Northeastern, I mean, how important is it for you in terms of the international-based programs?
So Northeastern University is an American institution that's been in Boston for well over 100 years. But we are a private institution, and in the American context, that means that we receive no state subsidy for our teaching. We're not for-profit, we're not for profit, but we are a private independent university that has been around for over 100 years. And we have identified international and global education as one of those key hallmarks that our students will need as they go out to succeed in their own careers. So both for American students being educated at Northeastern as well as international students coming to us, it's important that the university be international. And what that means is, for us, is that we need to understand the international community, and relationships like the one with International University here in Ho Chi Minh City are an ideal way of the institution not only educating our students for a global market, but also being part of that global market. So Vietnam, because it's a growing economy, a growing presence in Southeast Asia, was a very important element to our strategy overall for our international.
Great, because a lot of, many Vietnamese students, they don't have a chance to actually go to the U.S. for study, and now they have the program that can stay home, right, and still get the same quality of education. But a typical concern, I mean, for a lot of Vietnamese students, including myself, when I see the program that you cooperate with International University, part of it is in online courses, online educations, and you don't have a chance to interact with the real teachers. I mean, how is that going to work? I mean,
well, in fact, that's not entirely true. Our program here in Ho Chi Minh City and in Saigon with International University will have our faculty members coming here to interact directly with the students over probably shorter period of time. The online delivery of the rest of the curriculum and of the rest of the program will happen because of the cost effectiveness of it. One of the reasons why we're exploring this is in this type of education, which we've been very successful at in places like Australia and in Turkey, for example, is that we do believe that the American educational brand is still very strong internationally. Yet many international students cannot afford to take 3, 4, or 5 years to come to the United States to study. There are visa problems, there are financial concerns. And so as we establish an American-style degree program in another country, we want to bring our faculty and their expertise to that country, but at the same time we support it through an online delivery. That online delivery is changing rapidly because of the technology involved in online delivery is changing rapidly. If you think of business programs, for example, many businesses throughout the world do business virtually using the internet and email and communications. And Vietnam has a very good infrastructure, both on the internet as well as communications infrastructure. So we feel that we can deliver an interactive back and forth between the faculty members and the students, and more importantly, the students in and amongst themselves. There's some advantages to online education that doesn't actually exist in the face-to-face world.
What is it?
So for example, a faculty member in an American-style education typically wants to hear what students are thinking about in the classroom. So if you're in a face-to-face classroom and you have 40 students in front of you, you might hear from 2 or 3 of those students during the course of the class. In an online course, you can hear from 100% of those students. Every student will be able to respond to the faculty member based on the faculty member's questions.
All right.
And that's just one example of some of the activities. We've also learned that with international students, especially where language and culture sometimes is a barrier, an online delivery is actually very effective because a student can go back and reread or replay the lecture.
Repeat many times, right?
Many times over until they understand fully. If you're in a face-to-face context and you don't fully understand your faculty member, you lose the context of the lecture. However, in an online environment, if you're an international student, you can replay that lecture 2 or 3 times until you fully understand it. And it's always there to go back to when you're studying for the assessment. So there's some advantages there to the online.
Thank you for sharing, and we're going to be back after short break.
Thank you.
Mời quý vị giải lao trong ít phút trước khi quay trở lại với phần 2 của chương trình Tôi Việt Nam với cuộc trò chuyện với ông John Labrie, là Phó Hiệu trưởng của Đào tạo sau Đại học Northeastern Hoa Kỳ.